Sweden has become the latest European country to release its Indo-Pacific strategy. With this, it joins the club of select European countries like France, Germany, Netherlands, the Czech Republic, and the European Union itself to come up with a documented strategy to engage the Indo-Pacific region, which, as you know, is a hotbed for rising tensions between the United States and China. Outside of the EU, the United Kingdom too has a strategy called the Integrated Review that has been duly updated since the Ukraine war started. So, the marked difference in the Swedish overture is its unambiguous emphasis on developing defense policy and technological relations with trusted partners in the Indo-Pacific and increasing its military presence. Although the document doesn't directly refer to India, it highlights the strategic importance of the Indian Ocean region, where New Delhi plays a key role and is also an essential partner for the West. India's relationships with various Western nations have been growing rapidly. The Modi government has actively engaged with Europe across areas such as trade, investment, defense, technology, mobility, maritime cooperation, joint development projects, etc. These efforts are supported by India's expanding presence in Europe through new strategic partnerships. And this actually reflects a comprehensive approach to defense diplomacy. If you remember, we have new strategic partnerships with countries like Greece and Poland. Additionally, India is well positioned to take advantage of the gap left by China's underperformance in its 17 plus 1 plans initiative in Central and Eastern Europe. And this creates mutually beneficial investment opportunities in connectivity projects mainly. In its own backyard, India's bilateral and plurilateral engagement with a range of actors from the West has risen exponentially in all spheres of statecraft. It is worth noting that Swedish defense giant Saab recently made history by securing 100% FDI in a defense project in India. The Defense Acquisition Council, which is led by the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, approved Saab's proposal to set up a new facility for manufacturing the Carl Gustaf M4 systems. This collaboration aligns with the Make in India initiative and includes significant technological advancements such as sighting systems and what is called carbon fiber winding. Now, given that India typically limits FDI in the defense sector to only 74%, Saab's achievement is truly remarkable. Sweden's Indo-Pacific strategy is expected to create further opportunities for investment and technological cooperation, and this should happen across Indo-Pacific capitals, including India, which must be strategically leveraged with firm intent and supportive frameworks from both sides. So, what does the Swedish policy tell us about how the European and Indo-Pacific theatres are getting connected? You know, Sweden's engagement in the Indo-Pacific reflects a recognition of how deeply intertwined Europe's interests have become with those of the region, which is the Indo-Pacific region. You know, prior to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Europe's involvement in the region was largely economic. You know, about 40% of global trade passes through crucial maritime routes, which are all located in this region. Now, these channels are now increasingly at risk due to rising tensions in the Taiwan Straits and China's assertiveness in the South China Sea. However, Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 not only shattered the post-1991 European Security Order and violated the UN Charter, but also plunged Europe into a state of perpetual security anxiety. The growing Russia-China alliance has forced Europe to reassess its security and defense strategies. Meanwhile, in Northern Europe, the geopolitical landscape of the Baltics, Baltic Sea, has been transformed with Sweden and Finland abandoning 150 years of neutrality by joining NATO. Defense spending has surged across Europe, along with an increasing focus on security and defense engagement in the Indo-Pacific. So, with this background, let's analyze Sweden in the Indo-Pacific region. And here, the first thing to remember is that Sweden is not a newcomer to the Indo-Pacific. It has played a pivotal role in shaping European engagement in the region through various initiatives, including the EU Indo-Pacific Ministerial Forum. Now, originally, this is an EU initiative, and Sweden expanded its scope while presiding over the Council of the EU in 2023. Building on the Paris Indo-Pacific Forum, the Stockholm Forum gathered EU foreign ministers, their Indo-Pacific counterparts, various other EU officials, and also regional organizations to address three key areas: fostering sustainable and inclusive prosperity, pursuing green opportunities while tackling global challenges, and addressing the evolving security landscape in the Indo-Pacific. So, its own agenda was quite comprehensive. But this initiative also aligns with what is known as the EU Indo-Pacific Strategy and supports the Global Gateway Initiative, which focuses on enhancing connectivity and infrastructure throughout the region. However, Sweden's latest strategy has shifted its primary focus from economic development towards strengthening the defense dimension of its previous engagement with the region. So, Sweden's Indo-Pacific strategy was presented by Paul Johnson, the country's hawkish defense minister and a well-known advocate for peace through strength. And this reflects a shift in the country's defense posture. Now, since abandoning its historic neutrality to join the NATO, Sweden has significantly increased its defense spending and is now focused on enhancing relations with Indo-Pacific countries. Now, a key element of this strategy is Sweden's pursuit of access to technology, raw materials, and capital. Now, all these are critical for boosting its defense capabilities. This strategy also aligns with NATO's broader security discussions. Now, NATO's Strategic Concept 2022 had emphasized an interconnected global security environment, viewing threats across theaters as indivisible. However, NATO itself did not outline any specific defense pathways or commitments for engaging with the Indo-Pacific. So, its involvement for now remains focused on countering hybrid threats as they emerge. And in this context, Japan's the new Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba recently proposed the idea of an Asian NATO, a concept that received a lukewarm response from other Western partners and quite failed to gain traction in India. Now, New Delhi, as you know, is committed to maintaining its strategic autonomy, and New Delhi has shown little interest in joining any military alliances. So, what the Swedish Indo-Pacific strategy does is that it strikes a careful balance between addressing immediate defense needs at home, which is in Europe, and enhancing its capabilities in the Indo-Pacific. It outlines three clear pathways to achieve this. What are those? First, Sweden aims to strengthen defense relations through dialogue and forums that include revamped diplomacy using existing channels. Second, it seeks to increase its military presence through peacekeeping, through maritime cooperation, and also efforts to counter hybrid threats. For now, this focuses on existing EU maritime initiatives like the EU NAVFOR missions, with plans to participate in regional defense ventures, maritime security operations, and relevant military and naval exercises. And the third pillar of Swedish strategy emphasizes its core strength in technological innovation. Now, the strategy specifically highlights partnerships with countries like Japan, South Korea, Singapore, Australia, which are already trusted US allies and Sweden's preferred collaborators for technological innovation. It also mentions strong maritime cooperation with the same countries, which is Australia, Japan, and Singapore. Interestingly, unlike other European Indo-Pacific strategies, which frequently reference India, Sweden's first policy document does not mention India. However, China is referenced twice, once regarding US-China competition, and the second time in the context of growing alignment between Russia and China, which directly affects the security dynamics in the Indo-Pacific region as well. So, how do we fill these apparent gaps? From New Delhi's perspective, Sweden's Indo-Pacific strategy reveals a rather limited and somewhat incomplete approach. It appears to rely heavily on established, trusted partnerships, particularly with US allies, without explicitly creating space for evolving strategies with other relevant players. The Indian Ocean is referenced 3 times, underscoring its importance without giving India a prominent role in Sweden's vision as yet. And another notable gap, in my opinion, in this strategy is the absence of concrete defense commitments or timelines. So the document offers little insight into how exactly Sweden plans to balance its Indo-Pacific ambitions with the security concerns at home. particularly in supporting Ukraine. So, NATO's eastern flank remains vulnerable, and Sweden, like other European nations, is working to overhaul its security capabilities. And this, as a process, it's still underway. Now, Sweden has been also ramping up its defense spending significantly after joining NATO. It has proposed a 10% increase in funding for 2024, with spending forecast to reach 2.4% of its GDP in 2025 and 2.8% of its GDP by 2028. So, in conclusion, I'd like to say that looking ahead, Sweden must allocate clear budgetary resources to its Indo Pacific defense strategy and outline specific short and long term strategic objectives. The current document serves as a curtain raiser, of course, but a more detailed plans are definitely needed, including stronger engagement with India, both bilaterally and plurilaterally. Leveraging existing partnerships and aligning them with evolving defense priorities will be crucial for Stockholm's success in the Indo Pacific region. So, how does the European actors pivot to Indo Pacific play out in the arena of great power contestation, and how will it bolster India's capabilities? I will be back to discuss that and more. Stay tuned.